Welcome to the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. As a part of Learning Management System, we are conducting a webinar on Effective English Communication Lab 20EG12P for first semester CP students. I welcome all the students in this session. Today we are discussing about Unit 2, Listening Skills, Session 5. Lesson overview or objectives. The aim of the chapter is to understand the importance of listening. Table of content. Listening to the audio. Those who live for others will never be forgotten. Dr. Gurraj Karjagi speech. Multiple choice questions and answers. Listening to the audio. Those who live for others will never be forgotten. Dr. Gurraj Karjagi's motivational speech.
Most revered President Dr. Pillai, my esteemed, very respected friend Dr. Sudarshan, Sadhana and Ajit, I can't take two names separately. Kaikini couple, wonderful people, and Dr. Franklin, my dear colleagues and young friends. In life we require some icons, some role models. Role models help us to make course correction in our life and take it in the appropriate way. We have icons on the stage, role models on the stage. One, Dr. Sudarshan. He is such a wonderful role model. Can you imagine, we all talk about Dr. Kalam, and Dr. Kalam thought it fit to write an article about Dr. Sudarshan. Can you imagine what could be the impression Dr. Kalam had on him? I have had the privilege of knowing Dr. Kalam for a long time. I have myself heard at least half a dozen times, when you talk of Karnataka, Dr. Kalam used to mention 2-3 names without fail. One was Dr. Sudarshan, other was he was impressed with Dr. Prakash of JSS, and third is Siddhaganga Swamiji. He always spoke about these 3 people. Look at the amount of impression Dr. Sudarshan has made in the minds of Dr. Kalam. And we have Dr. Pillai here. At this age, the amount of commitment he has for a common cause is amazing. Many of us give up the battle so soon in life. We say, I'm tired, I'm getting old. Getting old is a mere number. It doesn't make any sense. You can be very young at 92 and very old at 29. It depends on how you look at life. So the amount of enthusiasm he has in doing it, and then Sadhana has been doing remarkable work, extraordinary work. I know them since 1999. Amazing work they have done together. And Dr. Franklin, I do not know much, but I should like to know about him, especially after Dr. Sudarshan spoke so much about him, I would like to know. And if I can be of some help and some participant in idea, it shall be my fortune. I'll be able to do that. Since I'm given 10 minutes time, I was wondering what should I speak about. One thing that changed my whole purpose of talking today was that little trophy that is given to BGS International School. Sir Mohanty sir is a very close friend of mine. We are together for a long time. When I saw Mother's statue, Mother's image there, I thought I should talk about Mother only. I don't know how many of you had seen Mother very closely. I had the privilege of living with her for 3 days in Calcutta. I was a very young boy, finished my graduation and registered for the master's program in chemistry. I had to make a presentation of a paper in Calcutta in 1971. I went to Calcutta, and that time the Naxalite movement was at its peak. And the Vice Chancellor told, you can't stay in the hostel, you can stay in some professor's house. I said, instead of staying in some professor's house uninvited, I'll do some social work. Basically, my mind is towards that from childhood. I went to Missionaries of Charities. I went to the house, Mother's house. And then mother was not there. Sister Nirmala was there at that time. She asked me, what is that I want to do? I said, can I stay here for 2.5 days? Third day I'm leaving. Can I stay for some time? And they said, wait for some time. Mother would come and take a decision. After about 40 minutes, mother came. My guess is she was about 4 feet 10 inches in height. I have not seen a more wrinkled face in my life, and I have also not seen a more beautiful face than that. The beauty does not come from fair and lovely. It comes from the inner refinement. Her steely gray's eyes will look at you, not only look at you, look through you. She came and held my shoulders and asked me, son, you want to stay here? I said, yes, mother. How many days? 2.5 days. Third day I'm going back. What are you doing? I said, I am finished my degree and I am doing my master's in chemistry. Chemistry? Then look after the pharmacy. She never even asked me which community I belong to, which state I belong to, nothing. And there was a room where 3 people were staying and I was given the 4th bed. And what was my job? To help in my pharmacy. There is no payment at all there. I don't know how many of you have seen that Nirmal Hriday. Then you will understand. The central hall is a sloping platform on either side and there was a pharmacy. All I had to do was stay there and whatever the prescription given to bed number so and so, I have to see that the medicine reaches them. That's all. There is no payment at all. First day was uneventful. But I tell you, my friends, especially there are so many young ones here, I had no idea what social service was. I had a crazy idea about social service. It totally got changed when I saw mother helping those leprosy patients there. And the central hall on the sloping platform, at least there are about 20 patients there. In final stages of different kinds of diseases. Some people, there was no lower jaw itself, finger was missing, nose was missing. You can see in our own house when my grandfather is hurt, I want to do the bandage for him, I make my face 10 times and hesitate to do the bandaging. But she was feeding the patients with her own hand and wiping the saliva with her hand and saying, they are my gods, without flinching. I could see the amount of joy she was getting in serving those people who were picked up from the roadside and brought there. It is a different kind of definition of social service for me. Second day in the afternoon, an incident happened. I wrote about it and published in magazines and became very popular. At about 2:30 in the afternoon, the volunteers of Missionaries of Charities brought an old woman on the stretcher to Nirmal Hriday. I couldn't guess the age of the lady. She could be 85 or 90, the totally emaciated body. She had very high fever and she was constantly blabbering something. She was saying something continuously. Mother and sister took her inside and gave her a bath, put a gown, and a doctor was called. But the lady was constantly chattering something. Mother sat next to her, went on pressing her legs, putting her hand on the back and consoling her. Since I don't understand Bengali, I asked another sister what is happening. She told me this lady belongs to Brahmin community. She struggled hard. She had only one son, and when the son was 2 years old, the husband died. So she cooked in somebody's houses and dishwashed in some houses and brought up the son, gave him education and got him married. After marriage, we don't know whether there was a conflict between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, or some difference came. Whether the son threw her out of the house or she walked out, we do not know. But she was on her own. As long as there was enough energy in the body, people will give her jobs, cooking and serving here and there. When she became old, nobody could give the job. She was begging on the streets of Calcutta. And now she has very high fever. She had collapsed near the Kali Ghat and the volunteers have brought her. Nobody knew the exact address of this old lady's son. What is the old lady saying? I asked the sister. He said, she is cursing her son. The only son, I have done so much for him. He drove me out. What shall I do now? I am begging now, or some kind of a thing she was saying. What is mother saying? I asked her. Mother is telling, don't curse the son. Don't curse the son. Mother is like God. If God curses, do you think your son will survive? He is a nice boy. He'll come and take you home. Don't worry, he'll come and take you home. Science present things she was doing, perhaps more out of compassion of the mother and to some extent the medicines. In the afternoon by about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, the lady got back into consciousness. Immediately one sister asked, what is your son's address? She took it down and a letter was sent to the son saying that your mother is here, she is not well, would you like to take her back home? And the person who took in the jeep came back very promptly, and the son, great man, did not want to waste a piece of paper. On the back side of what was written, he wrote, I have nothing to do with my mother. Now that she has come to your ashram, I have nothing to do with her. Do whatever you want. Mother did not tell the old lady that he got a reply like this, but continued the treatment. The lady became cheerful at about 6:30. She was smiling. And she was telling everybody around, you don't know, my son is a good boy. When he was a small child, he was so nice. Very nice boy, very intelligent boy. She was talking nice things and happy things. About 8 o'clock, she was given some juice and some fruits, and the old lady went to sleep. We thought the lady survived. At about 3 o'clock, there was again a commotion. Something or the other would be happening in Nirmal Hriday like that. We all ran to the place and the lady was gasping for breath. Doctor was called and many things they tried, but they could not succeed. By about 4:30 or 4:45, the old lady died. Immediately mother sent a letter to the son that your mother is no more. Would you like to take the body back home? Again the same son wrote back saying that I have nothing to do with her. I had nothing to do when she was alive. You can do anything you want with the body. I have nothing to do with that. The letter from the son came back at about 5:45. I was a young boy watching for the first time a death there. Immediately something happened that changed my life, my friends. Mother came there. Till then she had not asked me any question. She turned to me and asked, are you a Brahmin? I said, yes, mother. Immediately she asked me, can you do rituals for this lady? I was shell-shocked. I should tell you, we come from very conservative families where if the parents are alive, you are not supposed to go to crematorium. If your parents are alive, you are not supposed to go to crematorium. The mind is so strong, it is controlled by the past experiences and suggestions that we get. I wanted to say no, that I can't go. Those were the days when mobiles were not there and my house had no phone. How do I contact my parents? I had no reason. Then for a moment I thought I had gone to Nirmal Hriday as what? As a volunteer. Please remember, volunteers have no choice. Choice is a business. Volunteers have no choice. Then I thought for a moment and said, yes, mother, I'll do that. Somebody was called. I went with that person with the body to the crematorium. I did all the rituals that a son should do to the mother. I think in some of my previous births, this lady would have been my mother. I did all the rituals that I should do to a son. But actually, I should tell you, I was feeling so guilty at heart, because what will my parents say if they come to know what I have done? I had no reason to hide from them. I came back to the Nirmal Hriday and took bath and sat on the sofa holding my head like this. Mother came and sat next to me, put her hand on my back. Are you worried, son? She said, yes, mother, for two reasons. One is, you tried so much to help this old lady, but nothing succeeded. All your efforts failed. The lady did not survive. And second one is, I have grown up with the feeling and belief that I should not go to crematorium when my parents are alive. My parents are alive. I don't know what will happen to them. Very immature, but that's the age you should do that. You know what she did? She patted on my back and said, don't worry, son. Your parents will live much longer than they would have normally lived. And it happened, my friends. This happened in 1971, remember? I lost my father 7 years ago. I lost my mother only 8 months ago. They lived much longer. Both lived up to 91 years. She said, you have done a good job. God will grant her long life. Then second one, you asked me, all my efforts failed. To help this old lady, all efforts failed. She said, nothing failed, son. Nothing failed. She stood up. I also stood up. She put her little finger on my heart. I still feel it. She put her finger on my chest and said, "Son, please remember this. The little heart inside you is the temple of God. The little heart inside you is temple of God. You should always be clean. Should always be clean." You see, the afternoon the lady came yesterday. The lady was cursing her own son. Her heart was full of anger, jealousy, frustration. The temple was dirty. You know what happened in the evening? She was cheerful and speaking good things about the same son. Yeah, there was hope in the heart, good feeling in it. Her temple was clean. And she said, "I wanted this old lady to have dignity in death." It made my hair stand on end. I had only heard the word dignity in life. I had never heard the word dignity in death. I said, "Mother, what is dignity in death?" He said, "Son, it's very simple. In the last moment of your life, if you can keep the temple of heart clean, you'll go up into heavens, look into the eyes of God and tell him, 'God, I have come back as clean as you sent me to earth as a child.' That is dignity in death." I had never heard this word before. Never heard this before. I had only heard of dignity in life, but never heard dignity in death. How to keep this temple clean all the time? She said, when you do work for others, without your knowledge, your heart is clean. What a lovely message she gave me. When you are doing work for yourself, possible that the temple may get dirty. When you are doing for others, you have nothing to hold back, and heart is completely clean. If you want to clean a heart periodically, do something for others. Consciously do it for others. I was so touched by that. And that perhaps changed my life to a significant way. When I saw the Mother Teresa award given to BGS International School, I was so happy. When I was holding this block of the image of Mother Teresa in my hand, I was still feeling her finger on my chest. Remember, these are the people who make a lasting impression on the life of people, the touch. Why did the touch hearts? Why people like Mother Teresa become relevant at all times? Relevant at all times because they talked of things which are universal in nature. Today's books become redundant tomorrow. Today's newspaper becomes a waste paper tomorrow. Some thoughts become irrelevant. Some ideas become irrelevant. People become irrelevant. But some people remain relevant at all times. For example, the number of disciples Swami Vivekananda had in 1902, July 4th, the day he left his body at the young age of 39. The number of disciples he had at that time was very, very, very small compared to the number of disciples he has now, 100 years after. What makes him relevant? You understand? The Bhagavad Gita, which was read by few people earlier, is read by more number of people. Mankutimana Kagga of DVG, very few people used to read in 46, 47. Today every politician also quotes. How is that they become relevant? I learnt a lesson. If you are touching the universal values, you remain relevant at all times. The people like Mother Teresa, the concept of helping somebody else. I learnt a lesson from my students. I'll close very quickly because the time is 10 minutes. I was teaching my students. Suddenly I asked them, I'm teaching chemistry basically. Suddenly I asked them, how many of you know your grandfather's name? They were surprised. How is grandfather connected to chemistry? Since the teacher asked, they should answer. Most of them raised their hand. I said, good, I'm happy all of you know your grandfather's name. I gave a minute's pause and then asked, how many of you know your great-grandfather's name? They looked around and few hands went up. I said, good, at least 8 to 10 students know their great-grandfather's name. Again paused for a moment and said, how many of you know your grandfather's name? Nobody raised their hand. I said, surprising. How is that you don't know your grandfather's name? One girl stood up and answered rudely. Maybe there was an element of truth in that. She said, what's the point in remembering, sir? I said, Amma, I am not asking my grandfather's name. I am asking your grandfather's name. Why do you say that? She said, what is so great for me to remember, sir? What is so great he has done for me to remember? I said, Amma, close down, please cool down. I asked the remaining students, I'll mention some more names. If you remember the names, raise your hand, otherwise forget about it. They were curious. I asked them, do you know Rama, Ayodhya Rama? Everybody knew. I said, Krishna? Yes, everybody knew. Buddha? Yes. Mahavira? Yes. Jesus Christ? Yes. Prophet Muhammad? Yes. Ramakrishna? Yes. Vivekananda? Basavanna? Everybody knew. But I said, I have a serious problem. I mentioned so many names from Rama to Basavanna. I am not the great-great-grandson of any one of them. But remember all their names, but don't remember my own grandfather's name. Why is that? When your grandfather's grandfather lived, a young man called Vivekananda lived in Calcutta. You have not even seen him. But remember him, but don't remember your own grandfather's name. Why is that? Think over and tell me. I gave them 3 minutes time. There is one child in my class, extremely brilliant. I said, what is that? She told, very sensitive child. Very sensitive child. Very sensitive child. Padmini Priyadarshini, I remember her name. She had tears in her eyes. I said, yeah, what happened, Padmini? She wiped her tears and stood up and told me, sir, your question gave me a new way of life for me. I said, what is that? She told me, I learned a lesson of my life, sir. I remember all these names, but don't remember my own great-great-grandfather. The message is very clear. Anyone who lives for others shall never be forgotten, and anyone who lives only for himself shall not be remembered by the world. What a lovely message that the child told me. It became a lesson for my life. So, any organization, any person, any thought that lives for others will survive a much longer period in human history, and anyone who lives for themselves, their own self, will not be remembered. That's why IDF becomes very critical to us. Critical to us. Because this is an organization who wants to support somebody else, not making the same organization richer. It wants to help the people so that their lives can become richer. Therefore, as you said, long live IDF. Long live this concept of giving to people. If our young people can get this message, the life becomes meaningful only when you give to others rather than you take to yourself. The whole purpose is done. Thank you so much.
MCQs on this speech. The first question: what is the name of the person who has given this great speech? A. Dr. Sudarshan. B. Dr. Gurraj Karjagi. The second question: what do we require in our life? A. Role models or icons. B. Heroes. The third question: Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam wrote an article about dash. A. Dr. Sudarshan. B. Dr. Gurraj Karjagi. Fourth question: in Calcutta, where did he stay? A. Hotel. B. Nirmal Hruday. How many days did he want to stay on Nirmal Hruday? A. 3 days. B. 5 days. Sixth question: what is the name of the mother discussed in the speech? A. Sister Nirmala. B. Mother Teresa. Seventh question: little trophy has been given to dash. A. BGS International School. B. International School. Eighth question: when did he go to Calcutta? A. 1982. B. 1971. Ninth question: what is the name of the student discussed in the speech? A. Priyadarshini. B. Padmini Priyadarshini. 10th question: what is the lesson learned from the student? A. anyone who lives for others shall never be forgotten. Anyone who lives for himself shall not be remembered by the world. B. Anyone who lives for himself shall never be forgotten. Anyone who lives for others shall not be remembered by the world. Key answers. First one B, the second one A, the third one A, fourth one B, fifth one A, sixth one B, seventh one A, eighth one B, ninth one B, 10th one A. Thank you for listening.